Hey everyone, Jamie Pate here. Welcome to this video. Last week I popped in here on the channel and was sharing with you a bit of a walkthrough, if you can call it that, to my 2022 album. And we got about to day 7 and I had this page done and this page was empty and a lot of empty pages after that. Let me show you what I have so far. Okay, you know how you're kind of missing your mojo? I know we've all been there. And I've really been actually feeling that for many reasons right now. And instead of commiserating with myself about what's wrong with you, because sometimes I'm like, what's wrong with you? But sometimes we just don't have it, right? But here's something that always happens. When you start doing a thing, and I have a whole video I'm going to be doing on this concept, so I won't delve into it too much right now, but I do know this. Motion is motivation. When you start going into the motion of working on a thing, you get a little motivated, which is exactly what's happened with me and this album right now. So I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited that I was kind of down on myself because 22 is a little undone, and I don't want it to be that undone. If I don't get it complete, I'm okay. But I knew I had more stories I wanted to add. So 2 things we're going to do today. I'm just going to catch you up a little bit from part 1, what I have completed with some of my incomplete days. And then I have a couple pages that I want to process out with you here. When I was sharing this in the last video, this page was completely empty. I realized I had a photo for this day, and I'm not necessarily adhering. I've said this before. I'm not trying to take a photo on December 7 and that has to be my story. I'm trying to be much more open about that as I progress through these December albums year to year. And I credit that to listening to Ali Edwards, listening to her evolution, taking what I think works for me, and that's what's working for me right now. But that said, this picture was taken on December 7th, and so I added it here to this page. I just did a real simple flip with a little paper punch circle to be able to just pop that right back closed. No other embellishments. I liked how this page was short, so you had a little bit of this kind of candy cane paper showing through here, which worked with what the story was doing gingerbread houses. It just worked out. Sometimes those things happen for us. I already talked about this page in that previous video. Now this page and layout was empty also. And I did have some things I wanted to talk about. This should probably be titled around here. And that's always a great photo / journaling prompt for our pages, is around here, taking pictures of your home. Oh, how I wish I had photos of my growing up homes and what they look like. I have on my mind's eye what they look like, but there's a lot that I'm missing. And so, this day I was in the midst of baking and I took some pictures of these particular items I was baking because they have history in our family. They have tradition. And I wrote about that. So I just printed out 4 photos, and I knew these pages, I was just going to make them again. So, when you're catching up, you tend to not spend a lot of time on the extra embellishment things, and that's okay too. And I love how this turned out because what it did, I focused on the 4 photos that I printed out. I focused on my journaling and I gave the day a number, and that to me was complete. So that's how I got this page done. Now, when I showed you this page, I didn't even have a number on it. So this is story 9. I also since have added my journaling in. I printed that out. It's about a 3x4 piece of paper, and I just documented that there and tucked that in. Actually added just a little, I already had this pre-made, so I added in this little happy holidays there just to kind of tie it in together. It looked a little empty, and so that was a story to me of, James, you like these very linear pages, but sometimes they're feeling a little empty to you. So I just added that little bit of label and a layered little stamped happy holidays on top. And I already had this photo that I had printed out on vellum and added to this large pocket page. And this was a story that was not in here yet. Now, a couple of things. Oops, you can see my pictures. I probably don't have that done as well as it could be. So what I did here was a couple things. My kid went to his first school dance, and I got to tell you, the photos are not perfect because, it's a dark December night. The lights aren't great inside the house. And so I just decided to print it in black and white and be happy with it. In the meantime, I had printed several and I was kind of going in a couple different directions. And so when I realized, I'm not really loving these photos, I decided to I kept them, I didn't throw them away, and I made a larger photo and I'm just embracing that. And you know what's going to not matter in 10 years from now? The quality of this photo is not going to matter. The fact that I have this, at the time, 12-year-old on his way to his first dance, and the journaling from that evening and getting ready and how excited he was and the things that happened that night, that is what matters. So that's another tip. I don't know, I'm not sure what to call this video yet because I feel like I'm just kind of sharing some tips here. And well, I've shared this before. You guys have heard me. If you follow on this channel, one of my mantras is something's better than nothing. And so in this instance, something is definitely better than nothing. Now, the other thing about this page, to me, it's a very simple page. It might not look simple because I got a lot of layers going on. Here's the thing with all these layers here, though. They were already pre-cut and in a bag from last year. So I had made a whole bunch of samples, and you can see I have die sets in here as well. And so I just decided to just kind of dig through here a little bit and see what I could find. And absolutely everything except for this little banner that I wrote Winter Dance on, and except for the 10, everything was already pre-made. And I was so happy. And I felt it complemented with kind of the colors that I was doing already. I just started layering stuff. It probably took me, once I figured out my photos, don't count that against me. But once I figured out my photo placement and how I was going to do that, it probably took me about 7 minutes to do this whole page. Okay, let's get to the pages that I want to process out for you today. Okay, one of the things I always do is take a picture of a Starbucks cup. I don't know why. I don't even drink that much Starbucks, if the truth be told. But I seem to have, for years now, taken a photo of a Starbucks beverage and I document it. And maybe in time, this will be kind of a fun story to have. So I do print from home. I will link my printer in the comments. I do get asked about that quite often. And I do appreciate your questions about printing at home. I am considering how to go about maybe speaking into that going forward in this next year of content. Now for this, I'm using ScrapbookCom's 6x8 album. This one is a black velvet album. And part of the pocket page system includes these 4x6 pockets. And I almost always do this. I will add in my Starbucks picture with, it's not a full page. It's just this 4x6. And I spoke before how I really do like these different size pages in my album. Okay, so I'm just finishing up the back of the Starbucks with journaling because journaling is the word. Yes, you will hear me talk about this over and over again. Photos are fabulous. And yes, they bring back to us all kinds of memories. The words is where it's at, though. And that's my preach for December and our albums, or however we're going to document the little things that happen throughout this month, is by way of journaling. So I just filled in the back of that 4x6 with my thoughts on my coffee cup and everything that kind of surrounds that. I saw this holiday wishes washi on my table, so I grabbed it and I'm just lining the little bottom, like about half an inch of it, using my workspace mat to kind of line everything up and make sure it is as even on there as it possibly can be. And I think it turned out pretty good. It's beautiful washi tape. So I'm just trimming that to fit that card well, and so it doesn't look too cattywampus on me. So I'm just cleaning that up, and that'll go back into that little page protector there. So wrapping up this is a very doable day, and there can be more than one of these days in our albums. Photo and words, little bit of tiny embellishment. My numbering system is pretty straightforward. That was just a circle punch in white cardstock, and then using the festive numbers from ScrapbookCom to number my days. So this other page, as you saw earlier, was completely blank also. You can tell Jamie had some issues staying congruent on 2022's album. But that's okay. I mean, hopefully that's really a message that we're all just embracing here. It's okay. It is what it is. And this blank page provided all kinds of opportunity. It could have been my favorite pattern paper because I just love pattern paper, and I love especially 49 and Market and that artwork. It could have been that. It could have been left, right? It could be a cluster of embellishments right there in the middle. Probably wasn't going to be a photo because I wanted to keep that part of this story pretty simple. So I decided to do sort of a mini little embellished layered situation here. I used a Tim Holtz stamp that says "You be of good cheer," which I thought was cute with that coffee cup. And I made a little DIY tag and just hand cut that and then added some twine into it. I'm going to grab my 2-inch foam roll so I can have a nice solid backing of that double-sided foam adhesive. I'm just going to speed this up here a little bit, just trimming that off to size and just trying to place that as centered as possible. I'm going to grab some washi here again and kind of fuddle with it a little bit. I wasn't really sure exactly where I wanted that, and I ended up just lining the edge with it, and I just felt it worked out just fine. It was a really nice page. They kind of play into each other a little bit. Last thing I'm going to show you today, I have a jumbo tag. This is about 4x8, and then I just trimmed off those top corners. And it's about a 65-pound white cardstock. And I knew I was going to layer some pattern on top of it, which I'm doing here. And then once that's into place, all you're doing is just some basic cropping, trimming, whatever you want to call that. So that's what I'm doing here. I didn't show you the other side of it is going to be a full photo. I'll show that in the next video. And then I'm going to do day 12 on here. Had a couple of photos. I'm not a big fan of food photos, and there was food. You can see it right there. So this is my attempt to kind of hide that, but I just wanted to have some fun too. Love pockets. This is those DIY nested pockets from ScrapbookCom. I'm just basically putting this into place here. You're going to see here in a minute it all come together. I also created, and I'll talk about this in a moment, an embellished cluster that's going to live on here. This is a great way to add several interactive elements to your pages. Okay, so I finished this tag up. You saw me put the pocket in here. Pretty super basic, right? I have 2 photos in here, and then I made a cute little simple tag. It added this Tim Holtz ephemera to it. I'll add the journaling to the back of this tag. Then I just made a little cluster, embellished cluster for the wind, right? So then this is finished up, but it's adding it to my book. And I might even still end up maybe even adding this to the front. I'm not quite sure. But I don't know, I kind of like having all the layers and all the interactiveness going on. So that's a look at a couple more ideas for getting done by December. All right, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.